yields, we'll now recognize my good friend and national security expert, somebody who spent 20 plus years in the U.S. Navy, Mr. Gonzales from Texas.
Thank you, Chairman. And I want to associate my comments with my good friend Lou Carrera. Him and I took a trip to Central America. We went to Guatemala, we went to Honduras, and we went to El Salvador. And one of the I guess, surprising things is that I wasn't aware of is no members of Congress had visited that area in 3 years. So to the point, yes, there's a military aspect of it, but there's also a diplomatic. We'd like to see the State Department do more, but up here in Congress, in a bipartisan manner, we need to be doing more in our own backyard. And I know many of us on this committee are committed to doing this, to doing just that. My first question is for you, General. I just got back from a trip from Taiwan. It's the second trip to Taiwan in the past 14 months. I spent 20 years in the military, as my good friend August Pfluger pointed out, our chairman pointed out. I know what war looks like. We're at war. I mean, this is a war. It may be a Cold War, but this is a war with China. With the People's Republic of China, every single day are invading Taiwan via their cyberspace. Not only that, but the question I have for you is, in particular, your expertise is in air. I spent 5 years as an air crewman flying against China. I know exactly when they come out and they intercept our aircrafts. They're doing that every single day. And there's a danger in that, right? Because everything is fine until there is an accident, a spark, if you will, that turns a Cold War into a hot war. Can you speak just to some of the dangers in which playing this game of chicken brings up, in particular to Taiwan?
Absolutely. China has demonstrated significant aggression in the air by penetrating Taiwanese airspace. And it is a violation of Taiwan's sovereignty. And also, when they're in the air, their professionalism is non-existent. They will, quote, dust us off, if you will. In one case, we had a collision, mid-air collision from one of their aircraft in a Navy P-3. And that is the nature of how they do business. And so what we can't do is watch them and let them get away with behavior like that and not do something back, and not be there with Taiwan, not be present, not be out there and make them respect us the way they are driving fear into the Taiwanese with their aggression.
Thank you for that. And my next question is for you, Ms. Bingen, is turning over to cyberspace. This is what war looks like. That's the first aspect of it. And in cyberspace, there are no boundaries. There are no borders. We're all in on this together. And you can't go it alone. You need to have allies. I put together a bill, the U.S.-Taiwan Advanced Research Act, that essentially creates a closer relationship in the cyberspace with our allies. Can you just speak to that as far as how can the United States grow our relationships with others that, let's say, are not traditional relationships? You know, yes, we have our Five Eyes and we've got those relationships that have had for a long time, but other places like Taiwan, what are your thoughts on growing that in particular in the cyberspace?
Well, Congressman, first, if I can go back to your Taiwan point, and thank you very much for visiting. I had the chance to go there in January as well. And on Taiwan, if I can say, the arming is incredibly important, giving them a greater defensive capability. It includes not just the tangible weapon systems, but the training that goes along with it. And I think there's much more capacity there for increased training opportunities with our forces. And the other point that you raised on Taiwan is every day they are in this cognitive disinformation war with China, and so that the more that with the CCP, so that the more that we can do to help them and highlight or create transparency around those disinformation campaigns is important. On the cyber front, you're absolutely right on the allies. These are areas, and this ties back into China's Belt Road Initiative. They are doing a lot to try to get their infrastructure and make others more dependent on them. Where that leads to is other country, not only their ability to surveil and steal data, but also they're advancing their techno-authoritarian norms and standards. So I think that there are things we can do on the international front, threat sharing, but also building norms much more akin to how we see the world and how we want the internet to be operated, data to be protected, than the Chinese model.
I think it's very clear to point out that the People's Republic of China are the aggressor. I spent 5 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. Chairman Pfluger has also been at war. I think it's safe to say we don't want war. We want to prevent a war, and part of that is showing that we're going to stand firm with our allies to prevent those. And thank you, Chairman. I yield back.